Jed Keys here from CISA 4. This month on the Principal Podcast, I talk with Kim Penza. Kim is the principal at Black River Falls High School in Black River Falls, and she and her guiding coalition and staff are implementing Tiger Time and Tiger Pass. And this is something that I think a lot of schools have, but the process that Kim has gone through has had a serious impact on students' self-efficacy and really teaches us the lesson that sometimes I think, and especially at the secondary level, we need to tie natural consequences to some of those expectations that we have. And what Kim and her team have learned from this has had a huge positive impact on their culture. Whereas last year they would have a lot of apathy. Kids would have a lot of apathy. Oh, it doesn't matter, grades, who cares, blah, blah, blah. To this year, they're moving a lot more towards ownership. The kids are, and their attitude towards it. She is doing great work up there with her team. It's changing the culture of her building and increasing the amount that kids are learning while she's their leader. So take a listen. Kim Penza, she is the principal at Black River High School. And you and I have been talking for a lot this year about Tiger Time. Tell me a little bit about Tiger Time, its origins, and like how it came to be and where it's at right now.
Yeah, so hi everyone, by the way. We were finding that our students were struggling to understand how attendance, really passing classes, their behaviors in school really impacted them and their futures, and tying that all into like attaining credits and getting to where you want to be and what skills they need for after post-secondary, their post-secondary plans. And just seeing that we had lots more F's than I would ever like to have in every trimester. Our chronic absenteeism rate was really high, and we wanted to do something to fix it. We felt like our kids needed kind of a positive approach to it. They weren't ready to intrinsically go, this is what I need to do, but we needed that kind of carrot to give them to think about how what they're doing in the classroom kind of affects other things that they're doing within the building. So that's kind of where the idea came from. Like, what can we do? What are the things that they really enjoy? Our kids love playing basketball, right? Like if they could play basketball all day long, it's probably all your schools probably have those kids too. But if they could play basketball all day long, they would do it, right? It's just a passion of theirs. And so how do we take some of those passions and give them time to do that? That's appropriate and kind of dictated by us and not just free time. So
and incentivized. So like this access to this time. When was the time? Was it at the end of the day or
the time is at the end of the day. It's about 35 minutes. And so we identified spaces that kids could go to during that time if they were on Tiger Pass. And so, yep. And so I'll get to that in a second. So they can go to the library and hang out, read books, do homework if they want to. They can go to our commons area and we have board games and we haven't set it up officially yet, but we have PlayStations now ready to go for kids in there. And then we have a gym open where they play volleyball and basketball. Kids have to earn that though to go to those spaces. And so it's all based on attendance, academics, and behavior. And so
three things,
right?
Okay.
The three things. So we set some thresholds that they couldn't be failing anything at the time that we check. And they can't have 2 or more tardies or 3 or more unexcused periods in that time that we check, as well as they couldn't have more than 1 behavior write-up, and it couldn't be ISS or OSS. So just really setting like, this is the expectations that we have for you. We'd like to tighten up that attendance one a little bit, but that's where we wanted to start. And so if you meet these expectations, these places are available to you. And we check those things every 3 weeks because it was important to us that kids felt like there was a light at the end of the tunnel. It wasn't a sentence for the whole trimester that you were stuck and not able to work your way out and get on Tiger Path. And so the 3 weeks have worked really well for us, right? Like kids are like, oh, I didn't make it this time, but I'm going to make it next time. And so it's a lot of conversations about what they can do. Kids are talking to teachers about what skills do I need to work on so that I'm passing that assessment. the next time around, okay, I really want to reassess so that I can show my skills. So it's been really great. If kids aren't
Well,
on, oh, sorry.
no, no. Well, where if a kid doesn't get it or they have an F or something, where do they go? What do they do?
So we kind of have a rotation. So they get a kind of a double dose of every one of their classes that week. So
Mm,
on Mondays, our seventh hour is second hour. On Tuesdays, our seventh hour is third hour, and
gotcha.
so on. And so they start this Tiger Time at the end of the day in that classroom. So on Mondays during seventh hour, they go to second hour. We take attendance, and then the teacher, if they're not on Tiger Pass, they stay, and then the rest get to leave. We've also opened up for our teachers to say, you might be on Tiger Pass, but you need to stay because you are missing this assignment, and you need to reassess on this. So they have to be doing what they need to do in the classroom as well to be able to leave.
Yeah.
And our teachers really appreciate that because they feel like they have that time then with students. We had some time before in advising where we would do like homework help and like reassessment, but there was just too much going on or too many kids in there. And this lets them work really with that small group of kids that really need the reteaching or the reassessment or that skill building.
Yeah. How did you come to like you did was it like okay, we thought this idea and the first time you tried it and got it all it was perfect and you got it going or how did you come into this system like this?
So like we've taken pieces from it from different experiences that Mr. Erickson, our assistant principal, and I have had, like working with different kind of free periods that also have academic support. Our guiding coalition also talked about it a lot, about what would we do if we had different times and what would that space look like? What would we expect of teachers? And what do you think would benefit, like what would make kids kind of, what would be the carrot? What would make kids want to engage with getting onto Tiger Pass, right? And did we
Yeah.
think it would be that carrot that would work? Um, and so we just kind of talked about a bunch of different ideas. We implemented it at the beginning of the year, um, and it was pretty smooth sailing. There were some things we had to work out, like what happens when a kid has reached their 10 days of attendance, and now everything is going to be unexcused from that point
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Parents are still calling in, they're still communicating with us. So are we going to limit that kid from being able to ever have that carrot? Or are we going to be a little bit flexible if that we're still getting communication about those things? So we had to work out some of those just case by case things that
Yeah.
we didn't think about in the beginning. But so it's been pretty successful and pretty exciting to do. And our kids are talking about it. Our first trimester Fs, we last year had like 150 Fs and it was down to 53 the first trimester of this school year, right? So like the incentive to go somewhere and to have fun time is definitely working.
Yeah, yeah. So talk that a little bit is great news. I think that the
Yeah.
idea of you went from whatever 150 down to 50 Fs that has an impact, and you can see that right there. What other benefits have come from it? What do you said the kids talk about it? What's the feel? What's the vibe? What's the culture around it?
Yeah. So we would have talked a lot last year about there's just a sense of apathy, right? Like that it didn't matter if they did the practice, right? Because they were on standards-based grading, right? So the assessment's going to go in the grade book, but that practice didn't really matter. Um, and so like this is making them go, the practice does matter because I need to have this grade up to date on this certain time of that on that assessment because we check on that day and if it's an F at that time, it's an F. And then
Yeah.
even if you get it to a D 2 hours later, we're going to say this is your time, right? So being really kind of strict on that
Yep.
timeline has kind of allowed them to think about that as something that's super important. Um, they also just ask about it. They're talking to us about their attendance. Okay, tell me how many unexcused periods I have. Okay, so I can't get any more tardies. Yep, you can't get any more tardies. Oh man, I could get written up for my cell phone and that would be one. And I was like, yep. And he's like, so I can't get any more, right? Like, so they're thinking about it. It's not like they're perfect, right? Like
No,
they're still
no.
teenagers, but they're thinking about what that next consequence could be. And to them, the biggest consequence could be the loss of that time.
Right.
Um,
And that's, you know what, there's a lot of what Hattie talks about, some of the research that he's done. Are kids aware of what they have to know or be able to do, and how aware are they of their learning? What is their role in it? What I hear you saying is step one, make sure the kids know here's the bar,
Yeah.
not budging, right? No, this is the bar. Well, I got it after an hour after. Sorry, there's the bar, and being and not lowering it and saying, here's our rigor, here's where we want you to go. And it's had an impact. Not only from like results, obviously, in kids achieving more and demonstrating knowledge, but just the culture and the feel of it, it sounds like.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Like it's more conversations about their academics and how they're going to meet those expectations and wanting to meet those expectations. So that's been really, really fun to see, right? And to have those conversations. I mean, there's been not fun conversations too, right? When they're not on it, or like families not understanding that like clear deadline, and
Right.
having to have lots of conversations. But the more we talk about it, I share about it in our newsletter, what the data is looking like, and it seems to be impacted mostly by our Tiger Pass, our Tiger Time. So the more we talk about it, the more they're like, oh, this makes sense. And I get these deadlines and these hard, fast rules. So
Yeah, awesome. Kim, thank you so much. I really appreciate you talking with us. And if anyone is interested, is it okay if they reach out to you?
absolutely. I would love to talk about it.